I'm going to prime my whole engine bay and use this filler primer. Helps hide any imperfections. I'm not going to film doing it because I'm afraid of getting overspray or whatever on my really expensive camera. So I will show you it when I'm done. So I finished painting the whole thing. I didn't record any of it, mostly because I didn't want to get any paint on my camera. This I used a actual paint gun and it tends to get overspray everywhere. So what I did was I put up sheets and a tarp in my garage and blocked everything off, and then turned up the heat and then sprayed it and gave it a quick wet sand, and then did a couple final coats the next day. And the color is Suzuka Gray, which is an Audi color, and it's interesting because in this lighting it looks gray, but in the sunlight it looks like a white. So I'm excited to see how it looks when it gets out of here. So now I'm just going to start unwrapping things and then getting ready for putting it all back together. I bought some of this stuff to help keep out the sound and heat from the engine bay, and I'm gonna use that to line all of this right up to here. But before I do that, I'm gonna install my steering rack because I'm swapping in an E36 rack, and that means I'm gonna have to cut this firewall for this to clear to get down to it. So I want to get that done before I cover the firewall with insulation. To do this swap, I'm using a E36 M3 rack and then these 7/16 spacers that I got at a hardware store. I was going to machine some or buy some because you can buy the spacers online that are specific for this, but these are made for locking on like motor shafts, and they just so happen to be the exact height. So you can go to pretty much any hardware store and just look for the, I think they're just called like locking collars or something, and they have a set screw on the side of them. I just removed the set screws, but they're the perfect space to go between here. And you want to put them on top of the steering rack. Alright, now I'll just throw this on the car and see where I need to cut the firewall. So the new steering rack's gonna have to be at a steeper angle, which means this needs more clearance. So I'm just gonna grind all of this off and some in here with just a Dremel, and try to give it a little bit more room. So everything's just sitting in here loosely for now, but what I did was I took a Dremel, about 3 cutting discs, and I managed to cut this so my steering shaft will not hit, and I'm gonna have to make a plate that goes on the inside so that the boot still works. And then we'll be done with the steering rack. Now that I have the hole cut out of my firewall, I can start to lay up this sound deadening. I'm just gonna try to start from the passenger side and move across. Just cut out a big piece and then work my way through all the openings that need to get cut out. So the glue takes longer than I expected to dry. So what I'm gonna do to hold everything in place is these really strong magnets. And I'm gonna see if they're strong enough to hold it. I don't think they're strong enough to go through the whole sheet, but they're strong enough to hold the tips of the tape down. And that's what it looks like done. I think I'm just going to use the original one here, and I re-dyed it black so it looks cleaner, but I want the option to be able to remove it. I think the next thing I'm going to do is probably put the brake booster in, work on the brake lines, and then redo the wiring. So you can see my wiring's kind of a disaster. Mice chewed through some of it when I got the car. It was sitting for 10 years. Most of that was in a barn, so mice got to a lot of it. All the stuff inside the car is taken care of, but this stuff's just kind of been a mess, and I haven't addressed it yet.